here's the best part about the contract. The best part about the contract that he signed was, the agreement was that after 7 or 8 years, I can't remember the exact year, I don't know whether he's in the 7th or 8th year, he could voluntarily opt out of the contract and become a free agent, which probably would have been a great relief to everybody concerned, except what happened this year was he had this incredible year. He had one of the best batting averages he's ever had. He hit 54 home runs. He drove in 160-something runs. You know, it was unbelievable. Everybody's starting to say, oh, the Yankees, we have to keep him. You know, but George is not going to, you know, let him opt out of his contract. Why? Because it would mean that he's not going to get the money from Texas anymore. See how this works? And it looked like the Yankees were going to pay it anyway, and everybody was saying, by George, he's finally beaten the New York jinx. And this year is going to be great. Well, let me just tell you something. This guy gets paid $25 million. And when it comes to the playoffs, he stinks. He bats way, way below his average. He doesn't hit with runners in position. He doesn't do any of the things that have made him a great player for the rest of the year. And guess what he did this time? He did the same thing. So now what are the Yankees going to do? Are they going to, he may just opt out of his contract just to try and get more money out of the Yankees. What are the Yankees going to do? They're going to keep him? Would you keep him? And what's happened to Mr. Soriano? Well, Mr. Soriano has made a couple of pit stops in Washington. I was going to say the Washington Senators because it's whatever team is in Washington is always going to be the Washington Senators. They're called the Washington Nationals, and they're in the other league, but they're just as bad. Anyway, they toyed with the idea of signing him to a long-term contract, and I think they decided against that because they wanted to invest in other players. So he was traded this year to the Chicago Cubs, and he was signed by them to a big contract. Played pretty well, but the Cubs have gone home. So here's the thing, and this is a kind of an inverse way of thinking. I think what I would like to do, if I were ever brought up to the major leagues and I'd had a splendid period of time, instead of asking for $25 bazillion, instead of having like the biggest contract in sports, I would ask for maybe half of that. I mean, think of Joe Torre being paid $3.5 million. Think of Alex Rodriguez being paid something like $12 million. Yeah? And then then you don't have all the pressure to deliver, right? You're not living under this kind of thing where you think you're going to be fired because you're being paid so much money. I mean, it sounds incredible to me, right? Doesn't it sound incredible to you? The idea that you're being paid so much money that you feel so much pressure that you don't live up to your contract? What part of that is in your psyche? You know, it's absolutely incredible to me. Why not ask, I mean, it's all $1 million. What's $1 million? If you're being paid $12 million instead of $25 million, who cares? You know, you find a good stockbroker, you find a good financial manager, you invest in good things, and you'll have that money in no time anyway, right? So why not just do that, have half the pressure on yourself, have half the resentment that you have from other people. You don't have to involve 2 baseball teams paying your salary at the same time, including one that signed you in good faith to begin with, and for which you didn't deliver for anyway. My last point is many of us work in jobs which are actually quite good jobs in the sense that we're doing something that's worthwhile. We're trying to help people, like I'm trying to help people learn English, or I'm trying to help teachers who are training to be English teachers who are trying to help people speak English. Or we met a gentleman today who's involved with trying to persuade farmers here in Mexico to sort of stop doing some of the practices that they do that destroys the soil and the environment around them with all kinds of positive incentives. It's all very, very well intentioned. And the thing is, if we don't deliver on our jobs, then what happens is they don't give us a massive pay increase. And I think that instead of giving these guys $25 million contracts in sports, they should overpay teachers. This is what my argument is, that they should overpay teachers. Because if they overpay teachers, then some of the mediocre teachers would feel pressure to live up to the salary. In the world of just desserts, if we're going to be talking about economic policy, we should overpay the teachers. Who cares about another world championship anyway? The Yankees have won 21 world championships. Why don't we overpay somebody, a teacher, with the expectation that half the class is going to get into Harvard? How do you like that idea? Suppose you were being paid, let's say you were being paid $30 million with the proviso that you had to get your class into Harvard, and you didn't. And then the head of the Board of Education could appear on Sunday radio, and they could say things like, well, Chico Rose is the best paid teacher in America, and he's not getting those boys into Harvard, and gals, excuse me. He's not getting any of those people into Harvard. If he doesn't get more people into Harvard this year, we should fire him. And I think that would be great, because I would be perfectly happy to retire on a few $1,000,000. I have things I can do. For example, I could go to a baseball game. This is part of the ongoing development of Chico Rose.